Have you noticed that it's getting ridiculously hard to just sit down and read a book without immediately reaching for your phone? Well, you're not alone. Let's jump right into this explainer about a massive phenomenon most of us are experiencing right now, often without even realizing it. We're talking about the brutal psychology of modern cognitive decline, specifically how our everyday digital habits are actively rewiring our brains and, frankly, quietly destroying our focus. And hey, this isn't about some dystopian future. This is about what's happening in your brain every single time you pick up your device. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll be unpacking 1. The myth of sudden decline. 2. Outsourcing memory to smartphones. 3. The attention fragmentation trap. 4. The illusion of constant multitasking. 5. The danger of cognitive miserliness. And finally, 6. Reclaiming your mental focus. Let's get right into it. Starting off with Section 1, the myth of sudden decline, we really need to start by shattering a massive misconception about how our mental sharpness actually fades. You see, we tend to fear this dramatic, cliff-edge drop in our cognitive abilities. Most people genuinely think intelligence disappears suddenly, purely through aging or maybe some big, dramatic mental event. But psychology shows us a much quieter, sneakier truth. Intelligence fades quietly, through small, daily habits repeated for years. It doesn't happen through one massive mistake. It's those little digital routines we do every single day, year after year. Now, all of this happens because of something called neuroplasticity. Basically, this is the mechanism where your brain constantly rewires itself based on exactly how you use it. It's totally a double-edged sword. The exact same process that helps you learn complex new skills can literally train your brain to become mentally lazy. Think about it. If your daily habits constantly encourage shallow thinking, your brain basically shrugs and says, all right, guess we don't need to work hard anymore, and your cognitive processing actually slows down. Moving right along to Section 2. Outsourcing memory to smartphones. Let's take a hard look at the true hidden cost of all our modern convenience. Okay, so modern tech makes daily life incredibly convenient, right? But psychologists have pinpointed this hidden cost called cognitive offloading. This is the psychological process where mental tasks get shifted over to external tools, like your smartphone. Seriously, think about it for a second. Do you even know your best friend's phone number anymore? Or maybe even your partner's? The exact moment you realize a fact, a date, or a number is safely stored away on your phone, you subconsciously just stop trying to remember it yourself. And here's where it gets wild. Your brain decides remembering is simply unnecessary. When you rely entirely on digital storage, your brain essentially goes on vacation. It literally decides that encoding that information is pointless because you can just pull it up later. Now, sure, while this feels incredibly efficient in the moment, over time you are severely weakening your memory formation and your baseline ability to actually recall knowledge. You're actively training your brain to just stop forming memories. Which brings us to Section 3, the attention fragmentation trap. Let's explore the real danger behind endlessly scrolling through those short-form videos. I know, rapidly switching between 15-second videos just feels like harmless, light entertainment. But it actually triggers a dangerous psychological domino effect. First off, endless scrolling trains your brain to expect constant, immediate stimulation. Then, because your brain gets completely hooked on processing information in these tiny, hyperstimulating bursts, your ability to focus on complex problems completely plummets. And finally, your working memory becomes severely weakened. Because your mind is now totally wired for this rapid-fire delivery, you end up processing information quickly, but only on the absolute shallowest surface level. Honestly, doing things that used to feel perfectly normal, like sitting down with a thick book or trying to grapple with a really nuanced, complex idea, suddenly feels physically unbearable. It's like your brain has just completely lost the endurance for it. All right, let's dive into Section 4, the illusion of constant multitasking. It is time to expose a massive efficiency myth we constantly tell ourselves. So many of us wear multitasking like a badge of honor, right? We firmly hold on to this belief that we are performing multiple complex tasks simultaneously. But neuroscience proves that the human brain literally cannot do this. No way. The reality is that instead of doing two things at once, your brain is just frantically shifting gears. You are rapidly switching, pausing, reorienting, and reprocessing information every single time you toggle back and forth between tasks. And all this constant mental shifting, it's exactly like rapidly draining a smartphone battery. It burns through massive amounts of mental energy and significantly reduces the accuracy of your thinking. But here is the most alarming psychological finding. Heavy multitasking actually destroys your ability to filter out irrelevant information. By trying to do everything at once, you are literally training your brain to become highly distractible by absolutely anything that crosses your path. This brings us right to Section 5, the danger of cognitive miserliness. This is a super subtle psychological trap where we actively avoid mental effort. Here's a fundamental truth. Your brain only grows stronger when it struggles. Working out a difficult math problem in your head or pushing through the confusion to learn a brand new concept. That cognitive effort forces your neurons to form stronger connections. But psychologists point to our cognitive miserliness. Basically, this is the natural tendency of the human brain to avoid mental effort whenever it possibly can. And because we can instantly search for an answer online today instead of thinking it through, or grab a calculator to figure out a basic tip, this lazy, miserly state gets triggered constantly in modern life. The long-term impact of this choice is crystal clear when you look at the neurology. Pushing through confusion requires real cognitive effort, and the neurological result is that your neurons form stronger connections. On the flip side, if your default action is constantly searching for easy answers or dodging difficult problems, the result is significantly reduced mental endurance over time. You literally lose your capacity for deep reasoning, which is why even basic problem solving starts to feel unusually exhausting. Let's move to our final section, Section 6, reclaiming your mental focus. Now we need to look at how to train your brain and actually apply this psychology to your daily life. It all boils down to this one brutal, but ultimately incredibly empowering truth. The brain becomes whatever you train it to be. If you let technology do all the remembering for you, if you avoid difficult mental effort, or if you completely shatter your attention span with endless scrolling, well, your brain takes the hint. It simply stops trying to be sharp. So this leaves us with a pretty profound question that we all have to ask ourselves right now. Are you using your digital tools to enhance your life? Or have you allowed them to become a replacement for your own mind? We really have to take a hard look in the mirror and evaluate if modern convenience has actually come at a severe cognitive cost. Think about this as we wrap up today's explainer. Which of these 4 cognitive traps are you most guilty of falling into? Is it outsourcing your memory, attention fragmentation, constant multitasking, or cognitive miserliness? Seriously, drop the number of the trap you're most guilty of down in the comments. I'm curious to see what we all struggle with the most. We don't just talk about fluffy motivation here, we look at the raw truth. And if you are ready to face the psychology head on and reclaim your focus, hit that subscribe button. Catch you on the next one.